This is the Dr. Chris Radio Horror Show, 91.3 FM, WCUW, as well as Radio Horror on YouTube and Radio Horror on VidMe. And tonight on the show with us, we have one of the monstrous stars of the classic Clive Barker horror monster fest Nightbreed, Chris McCorkindale, who you can meet coming up soon in Providence, Rhode Island at the Dunkin' Donut Center, TerrorCon. Thank you for coming back on the show with me and with Jess for the first time, Chris.
Hi. Great to be back.
Yes. Are you excited about TerrorCon coming up?
I'm very excited. Very excited, yep.
It's not very far for you to go to, is it?
It's not. It's an hour drive for me.
That's fantastic. Great. Yeah. You know what's funny? I was just in your town earlier today, and I was just thinking about you. I was like, oh, you know what?
If you knew my address, you could have come by. Really.
Yeah, we could have done the interview there and had Jess call in, and then we would have had all the problems with Skype.
Oh well. But you wouldn't be in your studio.
No, we wouldn't have as amazing sound quality and awesome recording equipment as we do here at WCW. Okay. We'd have my laptop.
At TerrorCon, I know that Simon Bamford is going to be there and Nicholas Berman Vince. So they were both in Nightbreed. They both had much larger roles than I did.
Oh, I have not seen the updated guest list for TerrorCon. I will definitely have to look into that. While I do, Jess has a couple interesting questions that she wants to ask you.
I'm a pretty big fan of Nightbreed, and there's a couple of different things that I had to ask you about, mostly they're kind of like character-based questions. But first things first, when researching for this, I realized that Nightbreed was your only IMDb credit. Was this character, was Shunasasi your first and last on-screen appearance, or were there other projects that just aren't listed on IMDb?
There are a few things that are not listed. I was on a television show in England for 5 minutes, and quite frankly, I'm really glad that it's not listed on IMDb because I didn't like the way I came across in that part. Some of it was good, but there was just one scene that it's like, I really wish they had reshot that in a better light. So, and I also worked on Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and for some reason did not receive a credit. That I was typical of my career. I was a stand-in for a cartoon. I was a stand-in for Jessica Rabbit.
That's awesome.
So yeah, all the scene where she comes out on the runway and sings the song, and Bob Hoskins sees her and she interacts with Bob Hoskins. I did all of that so that the audience had someplace to direct their gaze, and it also helped the cameraman and the lighting people with the spotlight, and so they had the spotlight follow me, and wow. It's made it much more realistic. And I got to flirt with Bob Hoskins, which was pretty awesome.
Oh, the late great Bob Hoskins.
I know. He was just such a character. Yeah. Really great guy.
Did you have to wear the dress that Jessica wore?
No, I did not get to wear such a beautiful dress.
But you wanted to, though.
I honestly can't remember what I wore. I remember goofing around a bit, just trying, because the extras just had to sit there for hours and hours, and so I did a couple of things to entertain them. I think I was wearing something that looked like an evening gown, or but at one point I remember I did the scene with the dress and a pair of Doc Marten boots.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Which were, not conventionally glamorous or sexy, but it was a lot of fun.
I wear Doc Martens every single day.
Wow, still. So. Good for you.
Proud owner of the Doc Martens.
I see.
Get a plug for that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we should get them to be a sponsor for the show.
Absolutely.
I see now on the TerrorCon website, your co-stars, Nicholas Vince and Simon Bamford. I think the thing that threw me off is that they have them listed with Barbie Wilde under their Hellraiser makeup. So the Nightbreed thing threw me off. They don't have them in their They don't have them in their Nightbreed makeup. They have them in the Hellraiser makeup, so that threw me off. But that would be really cool to meet them as well. Do you know if you're going to be doing a panel at Terracon about Nightbreed?
I don't know, but usually when the three of us are together, something happens like that. We usually do a panel, and I don't know if Doug is going to be there or not.
He is.
He is?
I swear to God, I just saw him unless my memory is playing tricks on me.
I hear rumors that he will be there, so I can't imagine that they wouldn't have a panel with the four of us there.
That will be interesting. A very cool Clive Barker-ish movie panel.
Yeah, it's always fun hanging out with those guys.
Do you have a copy of the director's cut of Nightbreed? Have you seen it?
Yes, I do, and yes, I have. Very different. Yeah, it's quite different from the original. I'd kind of like to be able to see the original side, side by side with the director's cut, just to see the differences. Because I don't think I've seen the original in a long time. Yeah, it's definitely longer, and it's a little less jokey, which is good. It's more serious.
I think the director. Yeah, I don't believe my version, which I'm holding in my hand right now, looking at it, has the original Morgan Creek version, but as I remember reading in articles, there you can still buy the Morgan Creek version on some like Warner Brothers site or something like that. Of course, you can just stick one in your laptop and stick one in your DVD player for your TV, and just play them both at the same time, just to see where it starts deviating from one for the other.
Actually, that's an excellent idea, and I do think that I have a copy of each.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
There you go.
Yeah. What was the name of the guy with the horn on his head? That's the most jokiest character in Nightbreed, right?
Ah, the guy with the horn?
Jess, you just rewatched it, right?
That was Nicholas Berman Vince, I believe.
Okay.
You mean the guy with the moon-shaped face?
Yes, with the goatee.
That was Nick.
Okay.
That was Nicholas.
All right.
No, I think the jokiest or the funniest guy was oh man, I'm blanking on his name, but I think he's played by Hugh. He was the guy who tore his face off.
Yes.
Remember him?
Yeah, I remember him. It's just the names of these characters escape me just a teeny bit.
I know. I'm blanking on his name. I think the actor's name is Hugh, and I'm blanking on the last name. But I've met him. I met him at a Days of the Dead convention, and he was fabulous. And he's this very well-spoken British gentleman, and I just said, how, you're so different. You're just so different from that character. You sound nothing like him. And he just turned to me and became the character in that instant and said, it's called acting. It was just brilliant.
The actor's name is Hugh Quarshie, and actually he played Detective Joyce.
Okay, it wasn't him. Hugh Quarshie. No, it was different Hugh.
Hugh Ross. Hugh Ross. He played Narcissi.
Ross.
Yes.
It's Hugh Ross. Yes. That's who I'm talking about.
Man, I got a question about these names for a second there, but I'll Jess, what was the next thing you wanted to ask her?
Oh, something that has always kind of struck my curiosity with your character was the mentioning of the dreams that she had, the fact that she dreamt of Boone and Boone dreamt of her, but it's never really touched upon again in the film. And I'm kind of curious because that's kind of it's pivotal in his path to Midian. So I'm curious that did Clive Barker ever, while discussing?
Okay, so
were there any kind of further explanation into Boone?
A lot of people don't know is that Shuna Sassy and a few of the other characters were added in after the bulk of the film had been shot.
Oh.
So, yeah. So that's the scene where Craig, I'm blanking on the character's name, but Craig Sheffer, who plays him,
Boone.
says,
Cabal.
I dreamt her.
Cabal.
Boone. Yes, Boone.
Cabal. Cabal is his Nightbreed name.
Right. And he says, I dreamt her. That was added in. They reshot that scene.
Okay.
And I think it's when he's in the room where they're about to do the ceremony, where he becomes one of them.
Nightbreed, yes.
Yeah.
Because Nightbreed is like mutant or inhuman. It's like a race.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's a race, but it's also virus because, I don't know. He wasn't breed until he got bitten. Remember when Peliquin says something about the bite was mine?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Taking credit, of course, Peliquin trying to take credit for Boone's strength and bravery.
That was more of like a loose end then. That's almost like a opening up for fans.
Right, and I think there are loose ends because, Shunasasi was brought in after the bulk of the film was shot. And so, these references to dreams and, and I think it's like it doesn't really go anywhere. I suppose it does tie Boone more closely to the breed community, because he does have these dreams.
That's what I thought. I thought that there was some sort of connection between your character and him only because of that, because it's almost like she was kind of siren songing him to Midian in a way.
Interesting.
Through the dream, and that's something that I've always wondered about whether or not that was the intentional storyline or if that was cut or something. But it's interesting to find out that it was kind of thrown in.
Yeah. I haven't thought of it that way, but yeah, when you look at the opening sequence, like on the DVD, where there's the dream sequence and I'm in it, and he's and some other breed are in it, and we're running and we're trying to make it into the cemetery. It's almost as though we're being chased.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he wakes up, and that's right at the beginning of the film.
I had a question about Shunasasi artwork, but Jess has another interesting question I'm going to let her get to, because mine kind of segues into it. Okay. So, Jess, go ahead with that last one that you had mentioned to me.
I saw an interview that you did where you mentioned the love scene between Shunasasi and Peliquin, the one that was cut from the film. And in the interview, you had said that you were uncomfortable with the thought of doing a love scene. But then Shunasasi's most iconic moment is really when she is towards the end of the film, when she's using her seduction skills to lure the men in front that are attacking Midian away and kind of aid in her defense for the tribe and for her home through her skill. But so that mix of being uncomfortable with a love scene, but then asked to kind of weaponize her sexuality, like as an actress, were you uncomfortable with that scene as well? Or was it more of like an empowering experience? Like I'm just, because she's a very sexualized character, and so it was surprising to hear that you as the actress was uncomfortable with the concept of having a love scene, but being such a force.
Oh, thank you. Great question. The thing is that there was this talk of a love scene, and I hadn't even met the actor who plays Peliquin. There were no private rehearsals. I had no idea what they were looking for or how sexual or explicit it would be. And as it turned out, it was just me dancing on the bed with, it was more dancing on a bed with snakes, with him holding a snake in either hand. And we do see that now in, I don't know what you would call it. It's almost like the landing page of the DVD, or it's one of those kind of scenes that are thrown in, but they're not really in the movie. So you're asking about the seduction scene near the end of the film, where I am luring the police, also known as the bad guys. I loved doing that. That wasn't a love scene. That was just me, being alluring. I've got no problem with flirting or dancing. I'm very comfortable. Like I'm very comfortable being the first one to start dancing at a party or in a club. I've got no problem with that. And for me, this was kind of the same thing. It didn't really involve interaction with another human being so much. It was just. And I'm not sure what that says about me, but anyway, I had no problem with that scene. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Cool. That brings up my next question.
You definitely looked like you.
Yeah, and they pushed me. They really pushed me too, and it was good. I really enjoyed that. I still enjoy watching that scene.
That brings up my next question. Are you really flattered by the amount of Shunasasi like fan art, and like I had mentioned that they had never made Nightbreed action figures, which again, that movie is prime to be made into action figures. I mean, they made all the Hellraiser characters into action figures. You think all the monsters from Midian they should make in action figures. There's a Shunasasi statue of her nude from the stomach up to her head out there. I don't know if this is a fan statue or what it is. Do you find it flattering, even though that is you in the nude?
Oh, incredibly. I mean, I'm kind of flabbergasted by the whole thing because the film never really went anywhere, and I kind of forgot about it. And I actually, that was like pretty much the last thing I did I was really a dancer. It was the last thing I did, and before going back to school, and I went back to school and taught yoga for a few years.
Ah.
So, and then just think 3 years ago, found out that there was a following, and that Shunasasi had a following. I had no idea. And as far as like the whole nudity part, just want everyone to know I was completely covered in latex. That was never me. None of you had seen a centimeter of my skin unless you've met me at a convention. That was all latex. And I was a lot skinnier then than I am now. But they fattened me up. You see, they made Shunasasi look much more voluptuous than the real me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, you can see a scene of me practicing a scene with Shunasasi where I'm wearing just typical dance rehearsal gear, and something on my legs like that to look like quills or something, and I'm kind of crawling along the floor. Yeah. And that is one of those bonus scenes on the director's cut of the DVD. And I don't think I'm even wearing any makeup. I had no idea they were filming it and they were going to put it in a documentary, but whatever.
That whole thing that you describe about there's no real skin showing, you're wearing prosthetics. Tom Holland on the movie Fright Night. Are you familiar with the vampire movie Fright Night?
I've heard of it.
Oh, you've never? Oh, you gotta go see it. There's a scene in that where Amy, the vampire girlfriend of the main character, gets turned into a vampire. In the movie, I've always watched that going, wow. When you become a vampire, your hair gets 1,000 times bigger and your breasts get 1,000 times bigger. And on this recent documentary, on Fright Night, Tom Holland is talking about how they had to create this huge triple D cup breast harness for the actress to wear over her very skinny frame to make it look like her vampirism has enhanced all of her body parts.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And this is like right out there, he's explaining earlier in the movie, there's a prostitute that shows up at the vampire's house, and there he was like, I was just, Tom Holland's like, I'm very much a gentleman when it comes to ladies, especially in movies, and when I need something to look sexier, I'm like, I just pull over my female AD and say, I need you to go over to her and give her this ice and just tell her to get her nipples hard for this scene.
Oh my God. Yeah.
He's being very I just don't know how to talk to women this way. I'm the director and I'm in charge and they're supposed to listen to me. How the hell do you say that to somebody?
Good for him. But yeah, I mean, I like vampire shows. I was a big Buffy fan.
Oh,
so.
Have you ever heard of the podcast Buffering the Vampire Slayer?
No.
Oh,
no.
If you're a huge fan of Buffy, Jess, did you ever watch Buffy growing up?
Of course, I'm a Buffy fan. I rewatch the season, the whole series every year. I have the time to. I just restarted season 1 about a week ago. So.
Oh, I recommend this show. I recommend this podcast for you as well. Buffering the Vampire Slayer, one of the funniest, best podcasts out there. It's run by a couple ladies who are lesbians who are married, and they point out all of the awful 90s fashion trends, the overly gay subtext of the show, and a bunch of other really silly things that they kind of pick apart. They're huge fans. It does sound like they're making fun of the show, but they're honestly doing as best of a podcast episode by episode review of the show that they possibly can, and it is one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. But anyway, and I was gonna say, if anyone watches that sequence of me rehearsing as a dancer with no Shunasasi makeup on, you'll see how skinny I was. I was just a skinny little 20-something. So yeah, Shunasasi, I'm afraid a lot of that was latex, folks.
Have you ever seen like the massive amount of tattoos based on your character?
Every now and then I see some on Facebook or on the web. I don't have any tattoos, I have to tell you.
No, that's fine. But have you seen the tattoos based on Shunasasi?
I don't think I've seen any in person, but I've seen them on the web.
Well, between now and Terracon, I'm going to go get a Shunasasi tattoo and then have you sign it on my body and then have your signature permanently on me for the rest of my life.
Okay.
No, probably not, because that tattoo might like take a really long time to do. But yeah, I've seen the various Nightbreed creatures on people's bodies. Their arms, their legs, their chest, their butt, their back, their everywhere.
I guess that's better than getting a tattoo of your current lover's name.
Oh yeah, you should never do that unless they pass away. The only reason you should ever get your current lover's name or whatever tattooed on you is if they're dead. That's it.
Agreed.
You could be married for 30 years. Don't get it done until they pass away. Well, my wife was 75 and she died. I decided to finally get her name tattooed on me.
Oh boy.
I'm in the middle of actually rereading Cabal right now.
Yeah, I read that a couple of years ago because everyone kept asking me if I'd read it, and so I thought I'd better read it so I could say yes.
What did you think of it? What did you think of the book?
It's hard. It gave a really good background to the movie.
She's
and,
speechless. That's how
I
good
enjoyed
it
it. I mean, it was certainly engaging.
Uh-huh.
I think it was. It came across as more of a serious book.
Yeah, and it's also kind of it's a bit of a shorter story too, considering that if you buy Cabal or Lord or Nightbreed or whatever the book is titled these days, I don't even know if it's in print. You get a bunch of other stories in it, including Lord of Illusions. Jess, I remember you said you had never read Cabal. I actually have an extra copy I'm going to mail out to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I haven't read it yet.
It has the Lord of Illusions movie cover on the cover of it because they were promoting Lord of Illusions at the time, and that is the short story within the Cabal collection that it appears.
Yeah, it is kind of a short read, definitely.
Yeah, but honestly, I think Barker works best as a shorter kind of bunch of stories than a longer book. If you compare the Hellbound Heart, which is the story Hellraiser is based on, to the Scarlet Gospels, which is the newest book he just printed last year, which is The Return of Pinhead. A lot of people felt as though the longer book was a little tougher to get through.
Okay. Well, I know that Clive loves illustrating his books, too.
Oh, yes. Jess, have you seen Clive's original artwork?
I've seen some of it. I know that there was that he has a comic series out as well. And the one thing that I remembered is the covers are all very metallic. They're illuminated.
Yeah.
I just love that. It's a nice little extra touch.
Definitely. And for anyone listening who's never seen Nightbreed before, not to get too deep into it, but Nightbreed, go watch Nightbreed. And the story of Nightbreed resonates so much with today's climate here in America that I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it, but if you've never seen it, go watch it, and you'll completely understand what I'm talking about.
Great point. Yeah, and yeah, we don't even need to elaborate. We can just let people see it and draw their own conclusions. But I'll just say this: that Nightbreed is very much about fear of the unknown and fear of the other.
Correct.
Fear of people who aren't like us.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that going on right now, and it's very sad. So yeah, the film is actually quite relevant now.
Mm-hmm. And it's I don't think there's, outside of like the cantina scene in some science, like Star Wars or science fiction usually based or whatever, I think Nightbreed has the biggest collection of monsters assembled in like one film. Am I wrong?
I think you might be right.
Yeah, I mean, outside of
I've
science
never thought
fiction,
of that, but yeah.
yeah, because science fiction does that all the time, and referencing Star Wars, they have all these scenes where all these aliens are always gathered drinking and such, and Nightbreed is this like giant like group of like mismatched, deformed mutant monsters and demons and everything else, and it's like it's what makes it so much, so beautiful in its own way.
It's a rich tapestry. It really is, and on the set, I remember seeing the walls, like the interior of the caves where they were living. Well, I walked through that area.
Oh.
And the artwork was incredible, and we do get to see some of that in the film, and I think we see more of it in the director's cut.
Cool.
Just really amazing.
By
really
the way,
amazing.
Chris, I don't know if you were aware of this. Jess, I don't know if you've seen all 3 covers to the 3 different releases of Nightbreed: the director's cut, limited edition, the red cover director's cut, and the original Morgan Creek cover. Chris appears in actually all 3 covers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen them. Yeah.
That's crazy, because my role was my character was really kind of an afterthought. So I was really surprised to see my character on the cover of those.
Like visually, like we were just talking about how many monsters there were. Really, aside from the named characters, you really never see the same monster twice because there's just so many. And I would really love to kind of get all of them lined up, in some sort of photo shoot and just see all of the different details, because every single costume is so elaborate.
Yeah.
And there's so much detail taken into all of them that it's kind of a shame that they don't have as much screen time.
I know. And there were characters that were cut out too.
Yeah, that too.
Completely cut out. But I can tell you it the costume I was in you're looking at about 7.5 hours of special effects makeup.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that like one piece that they kind of slip on you with like touch-up prosthetics and makeup?
No, it was several pieces. Wow. And it went on in pieces. And I want to look up the name of the guy who did the makeup. He really is incredible. He recently won an award for doing Meryl Streep's special effects makeup when she played Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, neat. I didn't know Danny Elfman did the music for Nightbreed, actually.
How did you not know that?
I'm not a musician like you. I'm going to refer to all musician questions to you. You should be the expert.
That's one of the reasons why I liked Nightbreed so much when I first saw it, because I was I still am such a huge Danny Elfman fan.
Oh yeah, I mean most of his stuff is unparalleled. I mean, just because the film itself sucks doesn't mean if the music is bad, which can be said for a lot of movies. I mean, he's on a lot of Tim Burton films. Obviously, those two are always connected. And let's face it, Tim Burton does not put out a lot of great things. It's hit or miss sometimes lately. But Danny Elfman does the music for it sometimes, and you can separate the music from the movie, and you really love the music.
I feel like it's really characteristic too. Like I can spot. Like I can tell if it's an Elfman. I'm just a super fan. I'm geeking out now.
No, it's fine.
Danny Elfman is pretty amazing.
On Family Guy, he got
him when I lived in Hollywood, and that was a long story. And I mean, we were never friends; we were just acquaintances. But I used to go and see Oingo Boingo all the time.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I was going to mention on Family Guy, Danny Elfman gets decapitated by Chris after John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra is killed by a bunch of stormtroopers. He's like, "Oh no! Now we got to finish this movie with Danny Elfman." And Danny Elfman starts like playing some really awful music, and Chris whips out a lightsaber and cuts his head off.
Hilarious. Okay, I've got the name of the brilliant makeup artist who he designed a lot of those costumes. He designed Shunasasi, and he personally did my makeup every morning, like pre-dawn. And he recently won a really big award. His name is Mark Coulier. Coulier, and he's just a fabulous guy, and big shout out to him. I don't know if he would ever hear this. I am Facebook friends with him now. But yeah, I just happened a couple of years ago, I just happened to turn on the TV, and there was the Academy Awards, and there he was sitting in the audience. I recognized him. It's
wow.
like how, and then his name was called.
Yeah, he's done
is that?
so many things. God, starting with he worked on a lot of Clive Barker things, and worked on Waxworks, and worked on The Fifth Element, and Event Horizon, a great horror sci-fi movie. The Mummy, Mummy Returns, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We're both big fans. Jess is a huge Frankenstein fan, and I am making my own Frankenstein production right now.
Wow, what are you doing?
Long story short, it's a black and white silent film of Frankenstein.
Very cool.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, if you know Mark, please pass on. We would love to have him on the show. I guarantee most of these films that he's done, Jess and I have both seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let him know.
Yeah, especially because he's worked on Nightbreed, and again, the special effects makeup in Nightbreed is so fucking awesome. It's just unbelievable. Yeah. Well, Chris, we appreciate you taking some time to come on to talk about Nightbreed, and we look forward to meeting you again at Terracon coming up, and hopefully you'll be on some type of cool Nightbreed or Clive Barker kind of panel at Terracon. You have a couple websites that you're behind, plus some social media if you want to give it away for people fans to reach out to you.
Oh, yes, I am on Facebook, and you can look me up by my name, Chris McCorkindale. Be warned, believe it or not, there are like a few other Chris McCorkindales in the world. I'm just kind of amazed that happened, but I have in my background, I have a picture of Shuna Sassy.
Yep.
So pretty obvious. And I am going to be launching my own company, doing different things pretty soon. It's going to be called Reconnect.Earth. And it's about small scale, sustainable, natural products, containers that I actually prefer people return them rather than recycle them. So reusing. Mm-hmm. And I'm making my own body butter, which I'll be selling at Terracon.
Oh.
And it's everything is organic food grade because your skin is an organ, and I do believe that anything you put on your skin goes into your body and affects you. So I've stopped buying commercial lotions and creams that have a lot of ingredients that have chemicals in them. I don't know what they are. So I'm just trying to use natural products, and I'll be selling this at very reasonable prices. So
cool.
I'm just working on the label now. It's just trying to find time to do the marketing. Marketing's not my thing. I'd much rather be in my kitchen making things than figuring out how to market it.
No, I get it. I love to cook myself as well, so I will definitely have to pick up some of your butter when I get you to sign my Nightbreed director's cut when I see you at Terracon at the end of the month.
Okay, deal.
Awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much again for coming on the show with us.
Thank you. It was really great to meet you, and great to meet you, Jess.
Thank you, Chris.